All right, we're going to answer Dan's question. I'm just going to call you Dan because you have DAN in your name. So he says, "Hi Ryan, if you were a mid-stakes no limit hold'em cash player today, knowing what you know, how would you approach your future career?" Two ways to answer this. One would just be from what I would do, and then the other would be not a what should you do, but here's ideas and things to consider in order to make the best decision for yourself. So I'll tell you guys what I will do or what I would do, and then I'll give you a spiel on how to navigate this. So yeah, would you keep refining your no limit hold'em game to try and reach the high stakes, or would you focus on learning different variants where the field might be softer? I answered below, and I said you could basically do both, and that's what I would do because that's what I did. Let's start with this idea of refining the no limit hold'em game to try and reach the high stakes. Well, no matter what variant I play, I'm going to try and learn it to the best that I can. From a philosophical perspective, I think if you are approaching poker and you're looking to make money from it and you want to stay in the game for a long time, or you aspire to, like this is what you want to do for an indefinite amount of future time, you're going to have to get pretty good because there will be some slumps, there will be things that happen in your life, cost of living stuff goes up, and you're going to have to make sure you have bankroll to absorb variance. It really helps to be pretty driven or hardworking. It helps to be in the game and want to be in the game. It helps to keep going and not give up and not take too much time off, although you should take some time off poker now and then. There's two types of people. There's the other type is it's hard for them to play, and look, like if that's you, if you're watching this back and this is you, that's okay. You can work yourself out of that. I believe everyone can change if they have the will to change. It's whether you have the will to change or not. That's the real question. So if you're a bit on the lazier side when it comes to putting in the work and you're not grinding as much as you should, and this is a consistent problem, just know that you can change that. But if that's just how you want to be and that's how you're going to approach poker, then I would say it's probably best to do something else. I'm mentioning this because I think some people will see or have a similar question from the perspective or the frame of, can I just play soft games, whatever they are, and just kind of like find soft games and not try and make it to higher stakes? If you're doing that strategically and you're working hard, then that's a good, I would say, yeah, go for it. If you're doing that as a cop out to try not to work very hard and to like not really excel, then yeah, I think you should probably just play poker casually instead of for a living. So me personally, I would try to be the best that I can at the format. Now, there's a few things I have to say about being the best. If we're thinking about being the best in the world, like there's no actual real way to measure that. You could pick a way to measure it, like most money won or most tournaments played or most cash hands played. Like, is it volume or is it dollars won or is it both or is it big blinds per 100 won instead of dollars? Because realistically, whoever the best is based on pure dollars won, they're almost certainly going to be running several $1,000,000 above EV. That is the best in the world, whoever that is. I don't know. I don't think anyone does. And that's not to take away from them being really good or the potentially the best skill player. But what I'm getting at is it's actually kind of impossible to measure who is the best. So if your goal is to become the best, just realize that that goal is extremely futile and you will never attain it because it's not even possible to know if you obtained it. And you might drive yourself mad if you set out to be the best and then you don't get the confirmation that you are the best, like people telling you, oh, you're the best. If you don't get that, then it might have an impact on your self-worth negatively. And that might reduce your motivation and drive to actually play. Or it might actually fuel it. I don't know. This is like a topic that is different for everybody. Some people are really obsessive and want to be the best in the world. There's a few very vocal poker players out there claiming that they're the best or we're the best or they're aiming to be the best. I think it's silly, but I actually did do this with I actually did do this when I was playing Sit and Goes. I knew that there was no possible way I could know if I was the best or not. And it didn't matter. Because what you can do is you can trick your brain. Because we have monkey brains in here, okay? So the way you trick your brain is you tell yourself, I'm going to be the best. And then you keep telling yourself that, but you also maintain a healthy detachment from that idea where you can recognize how silly it is consciously. You can say, okay, like I know that this is stupid and ridiculous, saying that I'm going to be the best or whatever. But if you tell yourself that you're going to be the best and set out to be the best, then what ends up happening is all the actions that you take just start to align with what the best or what your imagination of the best in the world would do. So it's a lot easier to succeed at something if you just aim to be the best and not attached to it. Just don't get too attached. Otherwise, you're going to be like super manic and weird and probably not enjoy much at all. You won't even want to do anything outside of poker because everything you do outside of poker, enjoying life, it's taking away from your ability to reach that imaginary best level. But I think it can be a useful psychological hack to tell yourself that you're going to aim to be the best, even if you don't really want to. But you want to be as best as you can be for you. To me, coming up with too long-winded of a target or a goal is like not really palatable for the subconscious. So I prefer to just say or aim at being the best and then just accept like a lower a lower target, right? You may as well overshoot, and then if you land a few feet below, you're still very successful. So that's good. So me personally, I would just aim to be the best at that format. That's what I would do. However, when I was playing poker years ago, I still play, but I mean, when I was more on the run up, learning different formats, I think helped a bit more with MTTs than it does today. Part of the reason why is MTTs, we didn't have the solvers and the solver libraries that we do now today, all readily accessible to study from. So you kind of had to break the game down into like smaller chunks. And if you could find a no limit hold'em game that was already broken into small chunks for you, you had a pretty damn good organizational system to learn how MTTs worked. And that game was sit and goes. It's no surprise that many of the best MTT players out there, very strong ones who play super high rollers, were all sit and go regs at one point. Not all of them, but a lot of them were sit and go regs for a while. Because sit and goes had that ability to give you a lot of hands fast and a lot of ICM situations and heads up and like three-handed. So that really got you like chiseled as far as how tournament poker works. And I think back in the day, a lot of tournament guys really sucked at late game. Like a lot of big names even really sucked at late game. But these days, people are much, much better at late game. In today's climate, I think specialization might be the better route. However, personally, I've learned a couple different games in later years. I've picked up PLO for a little bit. And I found that picking up a different game, which isn't no limit even, actually helped. Just for something in my mind, just the way I see like the connection between cards and the board runouts, the suits, I just pay more attention to those little nuances of the hand. Whereas before I played PLO, I was less astute at picking up some of the nuances of boards. And that might sound ridiculous, but I found that PLO, just spending some time on it, just helped me play more focused, no limit hold'em. There's a non-linear relationship between the gains that you make from learning different formats, but there's definitely value in learning different formats. There's definitely value that will contribute to the main format that you want to dominate. I would still to this day learn different formats, but that does not mean that I would lose sight of trying to be the best at the current format that I'm playing, assuming that you're more on the run up. I'm not so much on the run up anymore. I'm just chilling. Well, not just chilling. I'm doing other forms of work. I'm still trying to be the best that I can be at no limit. But maybe if I just only did that, then I would be better. I would still focus on learning different variants. Now, here's how you do it. Learning a bunch of different things at once is not always the best idea. So, number one, I think you should have at least 2 years experience in your current format. Get good enough to where everything is automatic for you, like all the basic decisions like pre-flop, flop, three bets, C bets from all positions and like that kind of thing. Like make sure the game tree and like your check raises, like make sure you have a really, really solid understanding of the baseline strategy for your current format. Then you can add another one. Now the way you do this, and I've learned several different formats and done quite well at them all. The trick to it is you block out a month or two, or however long, to do most of your study on that new format. And when you first start, you should be playing a little bit because you don't want to just pure study. You want to do like 80-20 balances, okay? So you want to jump into the game, play it, and figure out what you can without studying. Or like look at like some hand charts or something and then jump in. From there, you're going to spend most of your time studying at the front end. So like 80%, I like Pareto. So 80% of the time you study, 20% of the time you play until you get to a point where you feel like, okay, like I'm pretty competent at playing now. I can study less, but I need to actually get more reps in. Then you can flip the equation and play 80% of the time. And while you're doing this, you should still play the other format that you are involved in, like that your main game is. That way you don't get too rusty at it. And you basically you make like a fractal of Paretos. So you go 80-20 study play of new format, and then 80% of my total poker is going to be the new format, and 20% is going to be the main format. That way we stay chiseled at the main format and we don't like regress. And then over time you can start to shift and get a little bit more balance, or you can move to where the money is. If your main format has really good games going, then you drop your side game for a while and you just focus intently on that main game. If the main game drives up, okay, good. You've spent a couple months learning this new format. You have the baseline in that game up to the point where you just need to maybe study it for 3 days or 2 days, and then you're good to go. Then you can move to where the money is. So there's your strategy for doing both. One more note on future career type stuff. I think if you are getting into poker these days, it's important to eventually pick up a new format, if nothing for the sake of just going through the learning process again, because over time the money shifts around and it goes to different games. Today it's maybe in MTTs, but then tomorrow it might be in anti-cash, or maybe it's in anti-cash today and then it's going to, PLO tomorrow or something. Be willing to adapt. Otherwise, you just kind of sit there and grind sideways. Like I've switched games primarily because of that, but also an interesting and just more scale, more ability to play in bigger games, like for MTTs, for example, compared to say Cap Cash or Sit and Goes. Like Sit and Goes have died off a bit, and most action has gone towards MTTs. And then different formats of MTTs are picking up more action, like PKOs, for example. I happen to know someone who has a PKO course, and that someone is me. So feel free to check that out if you need to get your PKO game brushed up. But the money just shifts around into different corners of the game. And if you're going to do this for like 10 plus years, at some point you might want to pivot. Now, there are many people who have just stuck to one format and had great success at that. Mid-stakes cash these days, I think, might be pretty dry on the main sites. And yeah, that's not a format I'm too familiar with these days. I've played a little bit of cash in Ontario, but not like a whole lot. Yeah, I would just be mindful of that. There's not much else I can say about this without rambling on. If you guys need help sorting out your potential poker career, if you're not sure if you want to be a pro or if you are a pro, but you're having some difficulty managing things, you need some help sorting that out, I will be doing some one-to-one coaching in the near future. Right now, I'm actually booked up. I've got a few guys that I'm working with. I don't coach that many people, so it's not like I just have, random days popping up with availability or someone canceling. It's pretty focused. But if you are interested, I am going to a live stop soon in the spring, or I guess winter still in Canada. Call it like end of April, early May. I'll have a link posted in the description so that you can go to a website and you can see my coaching offer there. And then you can click to apply and fill out the form and all that. Yeah, I'm only going to work with pros or aspiring pros. So if that's you and you need some help sorting out your poker career or just planning it or trying to figure out like what it is you need to do to improve beyond just the technicals of the game, then you can hit me up with the link below when it's available. Link will be available if you're watching this in the future. From May 2026 and on, I will have some more availability to help you guys out.